Good morning, everyone. The part 5 of the lesson chemical bonding is valence bond theory. In short, it is called VBT, valence bond theory, or VBT. Actually, earlier we have studied the VSEPR theory. So, VSEPR theory give the geometry of a simple molecule, but theoretically it does not explain them, and also it has limited application. So to overcome these limitations, the two important theories based on the quantum mechanical principle are introduced, and these are known as, the first one is the valence bond theory and another one is the molecular orbital theory. So first of all, we have studied the valence bond theory, or the VBT. So the valence bond theory was introduced by Hitler and London. Hitler and London were two scientists in 1927. So VBT was introduced by Hitler and London in 1927 and further developed by Pauling and others. A discussion of the valence bond theory is based on the knowledge of the atomic orbital. This theory is based on the knowledge of the atomic orbitals, electronic configuration of the elements, the overlap criteria of the atomic orbital. Overlap means when two atomic orbital overlap each other, that is called the overlap criteria of the atomic orbital. The hybridization of the atomic orbital and the principle of variation of superposition. So these are the basic ideas behind the valence bond theory. So a rigorous treatment of the valence bond theory in terms of these aspects of is beyond the scope of this book. Therefore, for the sake of the convenience, valence bond theory has been discussed in the terms of the qualitative and non-mathematical treatment only. To start with, let us consider the formation of the hydrogen molecule, that is the H2, which is the simplest of all the molecule. We know that the atomic number of hydrogen is the 1. So it is the simplest molecule, that is the H2. Now let's start the valence bond theory with the example of the H2 molecule. Now consider two hydrogen atoms. Consider two hydrogen atoms A and B. These A and B are the two hydrogen atoms approaching each other. They approached each other having nuclei, the Na and Nb. The Na is the nuclei of A and Nb is the nuclei of B, and A and B are the two hydrogen atoms. They are approaching to each other. Now both have the electrons. A it possesses a 1 electron and it also possesses a 1 electron. So the electron of A is Ea and the electron of B is represented by the Eb. Ea is the electron of atom A of hydrogen and Eb is the electron of the atom B of the hydrogen. So when the two atoms are at the larger distance from each other, now there is a condition that when these two atoms, that is the A and B, are at the largest distance from each other, so when they are at the largest distance, so there is no interaction between them. If A and B are as far apart from each other, it means there is no interaction between the A and B. As these two atoms approaches each other, but now the second condition is as these two atoms, that is the A and B, approaches each other. This is the second condition. The first condition is they both are at the largest distance from one another, so there will be no interaction, neither attraction nor repulsion. But the second condition is when the A approaches to B or B approaches to A. This one is the second condition. So when they both approaches to each other, so the new repulsive and attractive, when they both approaches to each other, the new repulsive and the attractive forces begins to operate when they approaches each other. So maybe there will be an attractive force in between these two, or maybe a repulsive force in between these two. So if we are talking about the attractive forces, so the attractive forces arise between. Now if they approaches each other, so some attractive forces will be arises or the repulsive forces will be arises. So the attractive forces arises between, that is, nucleus of one atom, that is Na. Na is the nucleus of one atom, and its own electron. The nucleus of one atom and its own electron. It means the attractive force arises between Na and Ea, or we can say that Nb and Eb. So the attractive forces arises between the nucleus of one atom and its own electron, or the nucleus of another atom or its own electron. This is the first condition. Now the second type of attractive force is arise between the nucleus of one atom and the electron of other atom. The nucleus of one atom and the electron of other atom. It means that is NaEb, and the second one is NbEa. So in between these two, the attractive forces will be arises. Now let us talk about the repulsive forces. Now the repulsive forces arise between, the first one is electrons of two atoms. Now electrons of two atoms means Ea and Eb. These are the electrons of two atoms. The repulsive forces arise between the electrons of two atoms like Ea, Eb, and the second one is the nuclei of two atoms. So the nuclei of two atoms means Na and Nb. These are the conditions we have. So the attractive forces tends to bring the two atoms close to each other. The nature of the attractive force means attraction means come closer to each other. So the attractive forces tends to begin the two atoms close to each other, whereas the repulsive forces tend to push them apart from each other. They repel each other means they push them apart from each other. Now let us draw a structure for the attractive forces. So for example, this is the electron, it is the Ea. This is the nucleus. So this one is the Ha and this one is the Hb, and here we have the electron, that is the Eb. Negative charge means it represents the electron. So this is the, so this one is the, now these are the, now the dotted line, these are the attractive forces. This is the attractive forces. Now the dotted line, Here I am using the dotted line. This is the dotted line and this one is the dotted line. Now this dotted line represent the old force, and this single straight line, it represent the new force. It represent the new force. So the attractive forces, if we are talking about the attractive forces, it means it is in between. Now look at this condition. The nucleus of one atom and the electron of the other atom. So there will be attraction. Same as that, there will be attraction. Same as that, there will be a attraction, and that attraction is because of this one, and this one is also attraction. So this is the diagram for the attractive forces. Now if we draw the diagram for these two, that is for the repulsive forces, so it means that, and now for the repulsive forces, so this is the HA, this is the nuclei of HA, and this one is the HB, that is the nuclei. So according to this one, so there will be a repulsion between the nuclei of one atom and the nuclei of the another atom. So this one is the A and this is the B. So there will be a repulsion, and the second repulsion is in between. This is the repulsion. They move apart from each other. That is the EA, and this one is the E, that is the negative charge, and this one is the EB. So this is for the repulsive forces. This is for the repulsive forces, and this whole is the valence bond theory. So experimentally it has been found that the magnitude of the new attractive forces, these are the new attractive forces, these two are the new attractive forces. So the magnitude of the new attractive forces is more than the new repulsive forces, and as a result two atom approaches each other and potential energy decreases. So ultimately a stage is reached where the net force of attraction balance the force of repulsion, and the system acquires minimum energy. And at this stage, these two hydrogen atoms are said to be bonded together to form a stable molecule having the bond length of 74 picometer. And since the energy get released when the bond is formed, the energy get released. So the energy gets released when the bond is formed between the two hydrogen atom. The hydrogen molecule is more stable than that of the isolated hydrogen atom. The hydrogen molecule is more stable in comparison to the isolated hydrogen atom. These are the isolated hydrogen atom. One is the A and another one is the B. And the energy so released is called the bond enthalpy, which is corresponding to minimum it is the minimum energy. Now the next heading is orbital overlap concept. Orbital overlap concept of covalent bond. Orbital overlap concept of the covalent bond. This is the next topic. So when two atom approaches to each other, partial merging of two bonding orbitals known as the overlap of the orbitals, and the overlapping of orbital result in the pairing of electron, and the strength of the covalent bond depend upon the extent of overlap. overlapping, it means the greater the overlapping, the stronger is the bond formed between the two atoms. Now, for example, we have the two atom. One is A and B. They have the two atomic orbital. When they come closer to each other, for example, we have two atom. Just a minute. Now look at here. Now these are the two atoms. This is the one atom and this one is the another atom. So when these two atom approaches to each other, so the partial merging of the bonding orbital takes place. Partial merging means this is known as the overlapping. This is the overlapping. When one comes over the other, this is called the overlapping. And this phenomena is known as the overlapping of the orbital. So overlapping means pairing of the electron, and greater the strength of the covalent bond depend upon the extent of overlapping. Greater the overlapping, a stronger bond is formed between the two atoms. Now the next is the types. That is the types of overlapping. Types of overlapping. How many types of overlapping takes place? So depending upon the type of overlapping, the covalent bond may be divided into two types. Depending upon the types of overlapping, the covalent bond may be divided into two types. The first one is sigma. This is the representation. And the second one is pi. That is this one. So depending upon the type of overlapping, the covalent bond is of two types. The first one is the sigma bond and the second one is the pi bond. Now let us discuss one by one. So our first heading is sigma bond. This is the symbol for the sigma. The first heading is the sigma bond. This type of covalent bond, sigma type of covalent bond, this type of covalent bond is formed by end-to-end hand-on overlapping, or it is called the end-to-end overlapping or end-to-end hand-on overlapping of the bonding orbital along the internuclear axis. Along the internuclear axis, and this is the end-to-end overlapping. Here end-to-end overlapping takes place in case of the sigma bond, and the sigma bond is also called head-on overlap. It is also called the head-on overlap. This is also called the head-on overlap or the axial overlap. Now there are three types of the sigma bond. So let us discuss one by one. So the first type of the sigma bond is the SS overlapping. SS overlapping. This is the first type of a sigma bond. So in this type, the two half-filled s orbital, SS means two half-filled s orbitals overlap along the internuclear axis. Now the s orbital is always shown by a circle. Now two half-filled SS orbital overlap means one s orbital combine overlap with another s orbital. There are two half-filled SS orbital, and this is the overlapping. This is the overlapping. This is the overlapping, and this is known as the SS overlapping. Now the second one is the SP overlapping. SP overlapping. Now one S and one P. It's clear from the name that in this type the two half-filled, the one S half-filled s orbital overlap to the one half-filled p orbital of the other atom. Now the representation for the p orbital is this one or this one. This is the p orbital. This is the p orbital. This is the representation, and here we are taking the internuclear acids, so we take this structure for the p orbital. So one s orbital and this one is the p orbital. So the type of the overlapping is this is the overlapping. This is the extent of overlapping. So this is known as the sp overlap. This is the one half filled s orbital and this is the one half filled p orbital, and this type of overlapping is known as the sp overlapping. Now the third type of the overlapping is called the pp overlapping. This is the last type of the overlapping. This is the pp overlap. Now it's clear from the name that the two half-filled p orbital of two approaching atom, they overlap each other, and we have the pp overlapping. So this is the half-filled, one half-filled p orbital, this is the another half-filled p orbital, and this is known as the overlapping. This is the extent of overlapping, and this is known as the pp overlapping. Now the next is this is the pi, that is the pi. This one is the pi. Now the last is that is pi bond. So this type of covalent bond is formed by the side-wise overlapping. Sigma bond is end-to-end overlapping, but the pi bond is the side-wise overlap of the half-filled atomic orbital of the bonding atom, and such an overlap is also known as the side-wise or the lateral overlap. The atomic orbital overlap in such a way that the axes remain parallel to each other. The axes remain parallel to each other and perpendicular to the internuclear axis. So the orbital obtained as a result of the sidewise overlap consists of two saucer type charge cloud above and below the plane of the participating atom. Now in case of the pi bond, the overlapping is like this. This is the one and this is the p orbital, and this one is the another p orbital. So when they overlap with each other, so we have, this is the overlapping, so we have this type of overlapping, that is the pp overlap. Now in case of the s orbital, pi overlapping is not possible, because for that we need the internuclear, that is the both are here, the both are perpendicular, the axis of both are parallel and perpendicular to the each other. So this is the pi bond. If we want to talk about the strength of the bond, strength of the sigma and pi bond, so the strength of a covalent bond depend upon the extent of overlapping. The strength is depend on the extent of overlapping of the atomic orbital forming the bond. So during the formation of the sigma bond, these are the type of the sigma bond. So during the formation of the sigma bond, the overlapping of the orbital takes place to the larger extent in comparison to the pi bond. So sigma bond is stronger, the strength of the sigma bond is higher in comparison to the pi bond, because in case of the pi bond, the overlapping occur to the smaller extent, but in case of the sigma bond, the overlapping occur to the larger strength, and the strength overlapping is the criteria for the strength. So the strength of the sigma bond is higher in comparison to the pi bond.